is going on YouTube? It's your boy PH Boom Harris, and today I am finally back from being sick, almost dying, and all that good shit. I finally got my voice back to almost 95%, and I'm back so I can finally do some talking reviews of some games I've been playing while I've been kind of mute and almost dying. So a game that I actually was trying to do a first impressions on, that I played right before I got sick. I ended up playing while I was sick, almost to damn completion. Every day, every minute I had free, I was playing this game. If you haven't noticed, the game we're playing today is Motorsport Manager. Now, just to start off, if you aren't into racing, or if you don't like F1, if you don't like the strategy management, if you just like hitting the gas, hitting into people, whatever, and just like that's how you win, sorry kid, this game's not for you. This game is a straight up F1 type of chess strategy management type of deal. And I know I mentioned chess and that might turn some people off, but if you really like F1, you kind of understand what I mean. This game is $2 in the App Store. It's kind of worth it if you got the like Google Play Store survey thing and you spend some money on that. It's worth it. So I mean, if you don't have the app, I have the link to it in the description below. But in the meantime, getting over the price, this game is worth it. It is by far one of the most well-polished and well-done games I've ever played on mobile. And if I had to put a top 3 of just the best, well-done, non-shitty, non-huge corporate douchebag, whatever, just well-done games on mobile, this would be in my top 3, if not my top 5. And I will just show you why. So first we'll get into my normal career. And this is you being the motorsport manager of an F1 team. Now, there are different leagues in F1, starting at the low tiers where you are racing locally in Britain or you're racing locally in Australia. Then you go to like continental teams where you race in America, you race in Asia, you race in Europe. And then you go to like world leagues where you race in all these tracks from all those different circuits, one from here, one from there, all over the world. And then there's a second one that does the exact same thing except on different tracks that you didn't race on in the first one. And then you get to the pinnacle of motorsports where you just race on all the best tracks. And you are like, you know, top dog, full pro, MLG, NFL, big league, super race car driver or race car manager essentially. And you just race on all the best tracks. So right now I'm on the second to highest racing league right now, or I'm racing all over the world, but it's not exactly the exact pinnacle of motorsports. And it took a minute to build myself up to here, racing from the low leagues where used to lose all the time because I didn't have the funding or anything. I got sponsors, I was able to get money, upgrade stuff, until I've gotten to this point where I've just gone through all that work and trials and tribulations, and it's through this great system of this game. So I'm going to actually go into kind of what we're looking at right now. Right now we're looking at the top name of the team. I'm in the International Racing Championship League, and I have a bank balance of $20 million, which is a lot, but also not a lot when you have a monthly loss rate of almost $500,000. So in a couple months, I could lose all of that. So how am I not poor as shit right now? Well, first you want to look at something like the sponsors. I get $700,000 a month from my main sponsor, BFG Bank. I have Penguin Toys on, which they're about to expire in this month for $114,000, and another one, Trust Banking, for $130,000. Apparently, I'm sponsored by the big banks, so Bernie Sanders might not like me, but yeah. So those sponsors actually pay into it. So I'm actually losing more money than $500,000, but their sponsorships are keeping me afloat to the point of negative $500,000 a year. And so what you do is sponsors actually give you, or your main sponsor, secondary sponsors should give you money. Your main sponsor gives you targets for qualifying and racing. And when you beat that target, like for BFG right now, I get $1.9 million for reaching my qualifying target and just over $2 million for reaching my race target. And that could be come in first, come above third, come above sixth. It usually depends on how you're doing. If you're shitting it up and missing your targets, they kind of lower their expectations. But if you're doing well and you're like winning or getting podiums consistently, they'll usually be like qualify first, come in first. And if you do it, you get it, and they keep giving you money. If you don't, they kind of narrow down their expectations, come in third, qualify over fifth, shit like that. So they give me money, and that's what keeps me afloat when I reach those targets. But how do you reach those targets? And it mainly comes through this kind of cycle of kind of like the circle of life here in racing. So I'm going to start with my drivers. My drivers, they have certain stats on them. They're certain years old. They have, their monthly salary. I can determine who's first on my driving list or who's equal. So these guys can be my 1-2 drivers like they are now. They can be equal partners. They can switch. And as you see, I have Daniels here, who's 21. He's been with me for almost 3 seasons now, so he has more experience, even though that's not really quantified in their stats here. And John here, who's 18, who has better stats than him, but she will actually, I keep calling her she will actually come a lot of the times slower than Daniels just because she's a young kid and doesn't have the experience. So I'm going to show some of the results for this season. Now, I've had them both the entire season. I signed John at the beginning of the season. Daniel's with me for 2 seasons. They've had 2 races. She's literally DNF'd one, I think. Or no, I signed her after the first race. That's why. But she has had 1 race. He's had 2 races. He's won one. They both showed up as a 1-2 podium once. He had the fastest lap. None of them had pole position, but he's gotten more points than her. So he's showing to be the better driver, and that's why I had her in second, and he's the first driver. So these drivers are essentially the bread and butter. They're good. They will probably do well. And when you think they're not doing well, or if you're thinking they can't compete, like how if she gets more experience and she starts beating Daniels, I'm going to think I'm going to want to replace her and replace Daniels. And how I'll do that is I use this young driver program where I have dudes scouting out young talent. And essentially, they'll throw young talent in there, and they'll be in my young driver program here at HQ, just like going around the track, learning stuff, watching the races, and they'll get better, and their stats will increase every month until they get to a point where I think they're well worth it, and I can either terminate a contract or wait till their contract expires, and I can replace them. And usually, they cost less than keeping a driver around and kind of upgrading his pay. So you get young drivers, you replace your old shitty ones. That makes sense. And then you hire these guys called engineers, and these guys are the head of your aerodynamics, design, and manufacturing teams. And their stats kind of equate to how the workers in those fields in your HQ do. They, make them work better. They make their work last longer and go farther. So when you hire one person, they have a bigger effect than, say, a worse manager would have with that same person. And you hire them for a couple months or a certain, distance, and their salaries are but so much. And, you keep them around, and if you think you can do better, you go and hire better people. And they can only do so much if your headquarters is on point. Now, right now, my headquarters is getting upgraded, and 3 races till I'm fully upgraded. But there's my aerodynamics field, which is under construction. It's usually a test track where you see one of your little car dots going around the test track trying to get better. And they kind of handle the aerodynamics part, whether you set your aerodynamics for straightaways or cornering or neutral and whatnot. And then the design team is an office building that they design the look of your cars and make them better and stuff. They kind of do the same thing for aerodynamics, and manufacturing determines build quality of your car. Will your car break down? Does it get in crashes if it bumps people? Things like that. And they all have their points. And then you head over to the people that work in those positions in the headquarters. You hire a whole bunch of staff, which sit under the leads of each building, and they determine how much you get out of each person. And when you build up the places, you can hire more people, and they can do better jobs. So right now, that's pretty much it. And you can actually see the performance of my car with the buildings I have now and the people I have now. I'm not exactly at the very tippy top, but I'm competitive. I win. I get podiums. This is a good spot, and I'm just only getting better. So now we go back to, we've gone through everything. We've gone through how this game kind of works behind the scenes. And then you look at the standings right now. I just won a race, so we're up in second. Our popularity is good because we're winning. Our drivers like winning. Our sponsors like winning. Our fans like winning, but apparently they're losing in popularity. Who knows why? We have a calendar which shows us which races are coming up. Like my first race in Barcelona, I came 19th and 3rd. Second one in Durango, we came 1st and 2nd. That's a good thing. We have more races coming down the line, including one visit to Indianapolis and things like that. And now we're going to continue and see what's good. We see they're angry at our Aero facility because now we're not competitive right now. So we kind of are, that's why we're upgrading it. Now we're going to go to our first dilemma. Could we film a jet skiing segment with one of your drivers for a pre-race show? I'm going to say yeah, because that seems like a cool idea. And now we're going to continue. Sponsorship deal expired, so now we're going to hire a new sponsor. And we got 3 people wanting to sponsor us. This is good shit. So let's go ahead and go Hanks Franks, because he wants to pay us the most, and that'll keep us in less debt. It's $305 a year, or $305 a month. They signed a 4-month deal at $1.2 million. That's good money for us. So now we're going to do something like start qualifying. Now, here's where the meat and potatoes, the action of this game, is where you qualify for these races and actually kind of determine the positions you have in the race before you start. You want to try and get a high qualifying position so you can, get higher up in the start grid, because like in F1, passing is a luxury in this game that very few people can afford. Usually you'll pass maybe 5 or 6 people in a race. Usually in the beginning, 1 or 2 in the middle of a race. That's about it. You're definitely not going to pass people willy-nilly like this is NASCAR or, touring racing. No, this is straight up chess. You need to determine where you start first and then try and use your pit strategy to get open track so you can pass people while they're pitting or while they're doing something that's slowing them down. So, guys interviewing the drivers, everyone's looking forward to the race. Now we're going to see what we can get with qualifying. This is a nice big track. I think my guys will like this. They want us to qualify first. So first off out the gate, we're going to see what we can get in terms of qualifying. I'm going to go top speed straights. We're going to put them on soft tires. We're going to set them out for 2 laps each. So top speed straight, soft tires, 2 laps. Now, the little conditions we had there when we were talking about, what to send them out on. If you don't know, soft tires wear out quickly, but they also move the fastest. They set the fastest lap times, so they're kind of worth it for qualifying. But when you're in racing, it's kind of important to decide what tires you want. If you're having a short lap race, you might want to go short tires the whole time and do 3 pit stops. You might want to go hard tires, try to pass people on their in the pits if you don't think you're faster than them, and maybe have only 2 stops. Depends on the strategy, so it's very important to decide your tires and use the weather at the same time. Like right now, we got partly cloudy skies. You can have very bright and sunny skies, which makes the track conditions warm, and that affects the tires. Like hard tires, they last twice as long in sunny, warm conditions versus soft tires, which do last longer but not last nearly as long as hard tires. We're actually going to switch nothing. We're going to keep that. That was a pretty good lap time. We're going to set them out again for 3 laps, see if they can improve on those lap times. And yeah, you pick your tires and you pick for the weather conditions. Like if you know it's going to rain soon, if it's going to rain in 5 minutes, you might want to, use your tires accordingly. If I'm on soft tires and they're fresh, push. Try to get as much, use out of them as possible and wear down those tires, because when it rains, I don't want to just waste tires. Even though it doesn't cost any money or anything, you just don't want to waste them. You want to get more track position and better lap times. Or if it's going to stop raining, you might want to change tires to something else before it stops raining, because it could dry it really quickly or it could dry it really slowly. You never know. Depends on what weather conditions happen. And that's all things that you account for when doing the race. So we're going to wait for qualifying to finish and see what position we get. I think we're going to end up in first with Daniels, and John's going to end up in fourth. Last 10 seconds of qualifying, they're going to come around one last time. And that seems to be it. First place and fourth place. Good starting positions on the starting block. We're definitely in position. So I appeased the sponsors, hit my sponsorship goal, got a 1.9 mil. And now we're going to go into racing. Let's see. How did he do that? Insane lap times. The fans are definitely loving the great qualifying. Qualifying results. And now we're looking at the weather. We got bright sunny skies coming in about 20 minutes, and this is a 22-lap race with about a minute 10, a minute per lap. So this is definitely a great track to start on. We're probably going to get bright sunny conditions, so we're going to keep the setup we used during qualifying, which got us into first place. And we're going to start this race. They're really looking forward to Melbourne, hoping we win again. We're probably going to get 2 in a row, depending on how the race goes. And we see how qualifying went down. We kind of round out the top 3, top 4. Yeah, definitely in good conditions this race. And you can see how some people start on soft tires, some people start on hard tires. It all depends on their strategy. So it's definitely stuff to watch. Now we're going to wait for the start of the race, and it's looking good. John got a great start. She's actually moved up to second behind Daniels. Daniels is in first. No, now he's in second. See, now we're 1-2. We're looking good. We're probably going to hold 1-2 and get a lot of great track position. So we're going to actually fast forward this and see what's good. John fell back to third or second. She's kind of battling with the orange team right now. And we're just going to keep running with it. Open track, nobody in front of us. And this is going to start playing into our strategy. We have open track, no one's in front of us. We're pretty much just going to run away with it. John keeps getting caught by the orange team, so she's not going to really have as much open track to run with. But Daniels is definitely now gone. You can see that large gap opening up. It's about a 5-second gap, and it's only going to get bigger. So as we see the tire wear come into play, usually you want to pit right around just past halfway mark on your tires, because any farther than that and you start to slow down. So we're probably going to pit, I want to say for soft tires again, and wait for hard tires when the sunny conditions come out. So we're actually going to have them pit for soft tires. Pit for soft tires. Now, if you didn't notice, when we went to the pit options, we have the options of having them pit or stay on track. Options of tires, soft, hard, or wet. Wet for wet conditions. We can make them conserve their tires, which kind of produces slower lap times, even though they can't. It's not like they're super slow and they'll start losing positions, but they'll conserve their tires, and they'll conserve, in this whole sense of strategy, they'll conserve their wear and tear so they can stay out longer and possibly pass people in the pits. You can have them neutral, which means they're better for passing. They're not really running into the back of people, but they're not really wearing out their tires either. Or you can have them push, which is usually good for when they have no one in front of them or open track in front of them. They'll set faster lap times, make up more ground, but they'll tend to wear out their tires more. So we're going to keep them neutral like we have since they're running away with it. We're going to have them pit for soft tires. Everyone's coming into pits that had soft tires. And there we go. We're now on 3rd and 6 because those guys had hard tires. And we're going to see how far we can get. And while they're doing it, I'm going to actually bring up one thing that really makes this game memorable for me. And it's the things that they don't quantify in this game. Now, what they do quantify in stats like speed, overtaking, consistency is all fine and dandy. But as I showed you before with their stats, John is better than Daniels in stats, but John is a noob. She's only been in this race team and in racing, pro racing, for 3 races, while Daniels I've had around for almost 2 seasons. So even though Daniels is better, or John is better than Daniels, John's getting dusted by Daniels by almost 12 seconds now. And that's just... it's crazy. It's something that happened to me when I first started this game. I had my first 2 new drivers, and they were around with me for almost 4 seasons. One of them was around for the entire 4 seasons. The other one, another young driver who was around for a season and a half. Now, the season and a half drivers was head and shoulders better. I'm not talking by 2 points. I'm talking by like 7 or 8. So she should just obviously be way better. But she wasn't. And for some reason, every time we played, she would just get dusted. And I couldn't understand why. So, I started playing with other drivers, and I noticed the young guys, even when they're better, they need the experience under their belt, or they just don't perform like they should. So it's definitely just that, taking care of your drivers, keeping them happy, having them learn, not just expecting people with high stats to really just do well, all comes into a huge factor in this game, and it's what makes the game magical for me. So enough about that. You just know that this game is just really well done, even past the stats, just the mental chess game that this game plays, whether you should run with a young driver, run with an old head, run with, what tire setup, what gear ratio setup. All of this comes into play, and it's all, excuse me, it's all a huge factor in this game. So now we're going to complete this race, and it looks like we're probably going to win this if we play our strategy right. It finally got hot and humid, so we're probably going to want to pit for hard tires in this lap, and then I'm going to have them push. Now see, we have rain coming up, but this race will probably be over before the rain shows up. We're going to push for hard tires, and now we're having them pit. It's looking pretty good. Daniels is still in front because he was just so far out there. John finally got caught by the pack, but both have open track, so they're pushing their tires to the limits right now, which I'm just confirming they are. And we now have about 4 laps to go. These guys are probably going to go 1-2 again, which the other guys pit. We have 4 laps to go on hard tires in the best conditions for hard tires. This game is pretty much over. We've won 2, and no one's going to catch us. It is pretty much GG from here. Coming around for the last few laps, Daniels looks to just be lapping traffic at will. John's kind of getting caught by lap traffic, but not nearly as bad, even though Daniels is beating her by almost 30 seconds. Coming around for the second to last lap. It is looking good for us. And hopefully nothing bad happens, because crashes do happen even in lap traffic, and it can be a nightmare. Cars can break down. I've broken down in first place. I've broken down in last place. Nothing is ever guaranteed in F1, so definitely things to watch out for. Like when you push your cars, there's a higher chance of breakdown, things of that nature. But it always helps to have great staff, because they keep them in check. See, Daniels finally got caught by her competition. Now she's in third, so it's instead of a 1-2, it's a 1-3. But still, that's great for our points. It's great for our strategy. We were coming out of this race ahead. So we came in first. We hit our sponsorship objective again. We won the Melbourne Grand Prix. And we hit a podium, 1-3, which is good shit. A ton of people saw it, so we get more exposure. We didn't get the fastest lap, but that doesn't matter. And now we're moving up in the point standings. We're probably in first. There we go. And that's pretty much it. Fans love it. They love it when we win. The media is going nuts. And that's 2 wins in a row. So definitely pick up Motorsport Manager. It's a great game. I highly recommend it. And PH Harris signing off. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.